5 Times Tony Denied Having a Kid by Katie the Book Nerd. Chapter 3. The Third Time. Avengers. Sir, the Avengers have arrived. They're currently waiting in the living area, Friday announced. Tony sighed and rubbed his hands across his face in an attempt to wipe away all sweat and exhaustion. It didn't work. He spun away from his work table before heading up the stairs to greet them. He knew they were all showing up after a last-minute mission, one he had noticeably not been invited on, and were planning to stay for a while. It had been a few weeks in the Middle Eastern country to try to stop a terrorist who posed a specific threat to S.H.I.E.L.D. That was probably why they avoided bringing Tony. It had also been recent in that the Accords were amended, and the Avengers were pardoned. So, while Steve, Tony and everyone else were all friendly with each other, it wasn't even close to the way it used to be. Tony would be lying if he said he didn't still harbour some hard feelings towards the other team. On the bright side, Bruce was back. Apparently he was stranded on a planet called Sakaar, where he was lucky enough to run into Thor. After an adventure involving an estranged daughter of Odin, the pair had returned to Earth. Tony had never been happier to have his science partner back, especially considering things were so messy with everyone else. It added a familiar component to the team, and Bruce always stepped up to play mediator between Tony and everyone else. They all lived here now, with the exception of Scott, who was with his daughter, Wanda and Vision, who were off on a vacation, Rhodey, who had his military duties, T'Challa, who was running his country, and Peter, for obvious reasons. Bucky was God knows where, and as, even though he was officially pardoned, he thought it would be unsafe for him to stay with the rest of them, to Steve's dismay. So, for now, he was somewhere undisclosed to Tony, trying to get his Hydra programming resolved. He ultimately decided not to sell the tower. Once the Avengers all came back, he found it easier to have a second location closer to the city. Maybe because he wished for old times again. Maybe he just liked being in the city. Maybe it was because of a certain Spider-Boy who was nearby. No one would know. He stood and took the elevator upstairs, trying to wake himself up. He would make himself a huge mug of coffee the second he entered the room, he decided. When the doors opened, he was surprised to find them all sitting on the couches and chairs, playing an intense game of Mario Kart, except for Steve, who still didn't quite understand how to play. It all felt familiar, putting Tony more at ease. Tony chuckled and headed over to the coffee machine, calling out, "It's nice of you all to finally show up. It's not our excuse Fury sent us out. You know how much we miss your adoration," Clint called back, swearing loudly after Sam hit him with a shell. Tony had just gotten settled on the couch when his phone got an alert for the health status from Spider-Man's suit. He barely had time to say, "Oh shit," when he was interrupted. "Sir?" Friday called to Tony. "It appears that Mr. Parker is approaching the window. I suggest you open it." Tony, already knowing what was happening, didn't pause to update the other Avengers. He ran to the wall and opened the window, just in time for the webbed hero to swing in and tumble across the floor. He seemed a little woozy when he said, "Hey, Mr. Stark. Sorry to bother you, but I may or may not have been a little bit..." He was cut off by Tony yelling, "You were shot!" and rushing to the wound on his abdomen. Yeah, that..." He chuckled lightly. There was a dark red spot seeping through his suit, making the injury clearer by the second. Tony put pressure on it, trying to stop the bleeding, causing the kid to wince. Tony felt guilty for making it worse. He would not allow Peter Parker's blood to stain the nice hardwood floors of his tower, if he decided to make the injury even worse with all his moving around. "Friday, send up equipment from the med bay, suitable for the bullet wound. Bruce, can you fix this, right?" he said, already turning to look at him. "Tony," Bruce said. "I'm not that kind of doctor, I know, but you know how to deal with bullet wounds, and we can't let anyone else knowing his identity," Tony said, beginning to really lose it. Noticing both the condition of the teen and his mentor, Bruce decided, "Yeah, I can do it." "Thanks, Bruce." He turned back to Peter. "I gotcha. Have you called May? She must be worried sick, kid." Tony asked him nervously. Not exactly." Tony rolled his eyes. I told her I needed to come and see you about something that happened while I was out on patrol, but I didn't specify.
You have to tell her. Maybe not now, but the second you get home, okay? Tony badgered.
Yeah, I got it. He replied weakly. It's only you and Mr. Bruce here, right? It's getting a little hot under here.
We have some company, but it's no one who can't keep a secret.
Tony pulled off the mask from his head, so everyone was able to see his head matted with sweat, and his face ghostly pale.
It's just the others.
Peter's eyes widened. I got shot and I'm bleeding out in front of the Avengers. This isn't fair.
Nothing about this is fair, he told him, as Bruce pushed through with medical supplies. No way! This Spider-Man? You brought a kid to Germany? Steve spluttered, glaring at Tony, causing the other man to whip around. Is this seriously the time?
Tony yelled, waving his arms, before bringing them back to rip a hole in his suit, providing Bruce the access to treat the wound. He turned back to the boy on the ground.
You're turning me grey, Pete.
You already were grey,
Peter supplied dazedly, making Sam and Clint bark with laughter. Nice to officially meet you, kid,
Sam supplied, stepping closer to Tony. After a few minutes, Bruce finally told them, I got the wound cleaned and packed. He'll be okay. Tony breathed a sigh of relief, before turning to Peter and telling him, I'll call Aunt Hottie and tell her you're sleeping over at the tower because of our project running late. That should give you enough time to heal. Peter opened his mouth to reply, but Tony cut him off by finishing with, But you still have to tell her. He didn't have anything to say after that. Tony helped him to his room, returning to find all the Avengers sitting back on the chairs. So, Tony, was that your intern from the other day? Bruce asked him.
Yeah, Tony replied sheepishly, but I couldn't exactly tell you his identity then, could I? Not my secret.
No, it isn't, he agreed with a fond smile. So, while Bruce may know what is happening, the rest of us do not. Is that your kid or something? Natasha asked, breaking the ice.
No, just a teenager who I try to keep from killing himself.
End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Oh boy, Peter, what can you do? Kid cannot keep himself out of it for the heck of it, goody. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.